English Ambition, and I am Kakuli, your guide, your teacher. And as you all know, in this channel, we deal with the chapters with great detail and precision so that you get very good marks in your class 12 board examination. Today we are doing a very important and very interesting chapter, Going Places, written by A.R. Barton from the book Flamingo. And as I always tell you, keep your book in front so that whenever I explain certain word or important question, I always, tell you the points to be inserted in the answer so that you can immediately underline in your books. Believe me, if you watch the video till the end, you will get all the answers correct that are related to this chapter. Let's now begin. Now, this chapter deals with the theme of adolescent fantasizing and hero worship. What does it mean? Now see, it's very common, children, that in this age which you all are in, that is teenage and adolescence, children tend to have unrealistic daydreaming or fantasizing habits. Okay, you keep on thinking, you have great dreams for future, you dream big, you fantasize, and many times you people have a hero whom you admire or try to emulate. Now, there is nothing wrong in it. Okay, we always say that yes, you should dream big or think big, but at the same time, what you should remember is whenever you are trying to see a big dream or going for a wishful thinking or fantasizing, it should not be too unrealistic. Or if you are really thinking of something big, you should have plans to achieve it. Okay, just thinking will not help you to achieve your dream. Okay, it will remain a mere wish. It will never be translated into reality. Secondly, what precaution you should take is when you are dreaming, you should know that yes, this is a dream. It should not be so overpowering that you forget that it's a dream and you start thinking it to be your reality. Okay, you should know where to stop, how far is good to or safe to dream, and which is your real life and which is your world of dream or your realm of fantasy. Okay, why I'm saying? Because this is the theme of this chapter. Now, in this chapter, the protagonist is a young adolescent girl called Sophie, and she had a tendency of fanciful daydreaming and fantasizing. Okay, so let's begin the chapter. As the story begins, we find that Sophie, along with her friend Jancy, is coming back home from their school. And Sophie discloses her great desires. What are her desires? She says that I want to open a boutique. Now, what's a boutique? I think you all know. A particular fashion house where a particular designer designs a clothing line and then opens a showroom. Now that requires first of all a lot of money, experience, expertise, qualification, and Sophie doesn't have anything. So she is very, very mature. Now Jancy says, how will you do it, Soph? It requires a lot of money. She says, yeah, I will then do one thing. I will become a manager of a store. And after that, after I gather some money, then I will open a boutique. Now, from this conversation, we understand that Sophie is very, very immature, unrealistic, and doesn't have that understanding, the practical understanding of the world. On the other hand, we find that Jancy, her friend, is very, very realistic. She is wise, she is mature, and she knows the harsh reality of their life. So this can be a short 2-marker question, very, very probable, very common question of CBSE, that the difference between Sophie and Jancy. Okay, Sophie, immature, unrealistic, fantasizing in her dreams. Okay, and definitely later on we'll see how she indulges in hero worship or idol worship. Or Jancy over here is very, very realistic, grounded, mature, wise, and she actually feels sad for Sophie. Why? Because she knows that all these dreams that she is nurturing will never be fulfilled. Why? Because she says over here, Jansi knows that they were both earmarked. Earmarked means fixed. They were destined for biscuit factory. Okay, because they know that depending, what was their financial condition, their family condition, they were to work for the biscuit factory after passing off from their school. So she felt really melancholy. Melancholy means sad. That's what I'm telling. Keep your books in front so that you can underline the word meanings and write the word meanings and underline the words. She wished Sophie would not think all these things because her dreams would never be fulfilled. Now, but Sophie really doesn't hear to all these what Jansi is saying. She is blissfully sailing in her world of dreams. She says, okay, or I can also become an actress. Okay, I will become an actress because there is a lot of money in that, and then it's a part-time job. I will be an actress sometime, and then I will open up my boutique also. So you can see that she wants to achieve something sophisticated. She says something sophisticated. Basically, she is tired of her middle class, poor or poverty-stricken, restricted life. She's a young girl, adolescent girl, full with fantasy and a beautiful dream of a future. She wants to live a happy, exotic life with some beautiful things, materialistically also. And that is why she indulges in such fanciful dreams. In the meantime, they reach home. Baat karte karte, they reach home, and Sophie's home comes first, so she enters the home. And as she's entering, she tells Jansi that if I ever get money, I will buy a boutique. Now her father was sitting in the drawing room as she entered. Father is very irritated and annoyed at Sophie's this kind of unrealistic dream. Okay, so father hears that. Father says, see, if you ever get money, madam, first thing you please do is buy us a decent house. Okay, so it shows that the father was a little frustrated and angry with her habit of indulging in such fanciful dreams. Okay, so the father, the picture of the father that we get over here shows that he is most probably a worker in a factory. Okay, he is filled with sweat and grime and dirt, and he has come home and he is sitting on the sofa. Okay, and then Sophie's condition is shown over here. It was the whole house, small little house. It was cluttered with dishes somewhere. It was filled with smoke. So it creates that condition of a house that is poor, middle class. And Sophie felt, as if she was being suffocated. She was feeling a sense of suffocation, and she wanted to escape from such environment, from such socio-economic condition. That small house, dark, because it was becoming dark outside, so the house was also becoming a little dark. Moreover, the same room where cooking was being done, so it was filled with smoke. At one side, the clothes were kept up, piled up, dishes were piled up, father was sitting, small little brother, Derry was sitting, and she felt a feeling of suffocation. She wanted to come out of that pathetic, restricted, poverty-stricken life. Now where she goes? She goes to the room of her elder brother, Jeff. Now this is also a very interesting part of the story, children. We have to understand, why was Sophie fascinated towards Jeff? Why was she attracted towards Jeff? Why was she fascinated by Jeff? Because Jeff was a boy who was 3 to 4 years older than him, and he was an apprentice mechanic. What do you mean by apprentice mechanic? He was a trainee mechanic. Okay, so he was able to go out to some place to get the training. Sophie, we know, is a girl who loves to fantasize. Now, Sophie के दिमाग में ये था कि my brother goes to such adventurous places. See, something that is unknown to you, something that is not allowed for you, is always something that is fascinating for you. Okay, so the world of Jeff, which was not accessible by Sophie, remained a domain of wonder, of enigma, and of fascination. So she would love to go to Jeff, and Jeff was a person who was very, very introvert, means reserved. He would not speak a lot. Okay, so here is a line, please underline, it can come for your question. See, words had to be prized out of him like stones out of the ground. Okay, now first of all, what figure of speech is used over here? Like is there, so it is a simile. Comparison is there, so please underline. Words had to be prized, taken out from him, means उसको बात करवाने के लिए बहुत मेहनत चाहिए. Like you have to constantly, you talk 6 sentences, he will answer 1 sentence, like that. तुमको बहुत मेहनत करना पड़ेगा. Like he was very reserved. So just like you take out, to take out some precious stones, you have to dig the ground and do some hard work. You had to really work hard to make him speak. So this is a figure of speech, simile. And she was jealous of his silence. This is also very important. Why was she jealous of his silence? Answer is given in the next line. Because when he was silent, Sophie thought that Jeff was thinking of those places which he went. And Sophie को ऐसा लगता था, which just now I told you, that those places as if are world of fantasy, adventure and exotic places. जबकि ऐसा कुछ भी नहीं था. Jeff, yes, had a little more exposure than Sophie because he was older and he went to, had his own motorbike and he would roam here and there. But ऐसा कोई भी ऐसे exotic places में वो नहीं जाता था because he was also a boy from a poor family. He didn't have so much of resources. But Sophie को ऐसा लगता था कि he had access, or he was exposed to a very beautiful world, or she wanted an entry into that world of Jeff. जबकि Jeff उसको ज़्यादा भाव नहीं देता था. Jeff would not talk to her much, but she wanted to build that connect with Jeff. She wanted to talk to Jeff and get an entry into his world of fantasy. Okay? Now this comes as a very important question, that why was Sophie fascinated towards Jeff, okay, or his world? Now the answer is given over here. Come to page 79, please underline. They attained a special fascination simply because they were unknown to her and remained out of her reach. Okay, because it was unknown and it was beyond her reach. So anything that is unknown and forbidden is always fascinating. Okay, so this can be a very, very important 2-marker question. Now Sophie, as we know, was very, very, a girl who lived in a world of fantasy or unrealistic. So she dreamt that a day will come when she will sit on Jeff's bike, motorcycle, and with her yellow, beautiful flowing gown, and will go with Jeff to that place where Jeff goes, to Jeff's world, and everybody would be applauding them and welcoming them. So this just shows how unrealistic she was, how far she could really imagine, and so childish and immature dreams she nurtured. Okay, so we are till here. Now in page 79 at the bottom, the last paragraph that we have, now Sophie enters Jeff's room. What was Jeff doing? Jeff, as I told you, was a trainee mechanic. So he had a small motor part in his hand and he was trying to repair it. Now So Jeff doesn't talk much. So Sophie blurted out something just to grab Jeff's attention. What did she say? She said that I met Danny Casey. Now, who is Danny Casey? Danny Casey was a celebrated footballer, Irish footballer, and he would play in that club over there also. So everybody was fan of Danny Casey. He was a very popular and very good footballer. Okay, very acclaimed footballer, very accomplished footballer. So everybody loved him. He was a young boy. And suddenly when Sophie said that I met Danny Casey, Jeff was also, surprised, astonished. So he looked. Where? And she said in the arcade. Arcade, you can understand, a place where some shops are there, not mall as such, but a small structure with a series of shops. She said that I met Danny Casey in the arcade. Initially, Jeff did not believe. Jeff also knows that she has the habit of, fabricating such stories. So he said, I don't believe. But she continued to say, yes, I met him, and I also asked for his autograph. But because I didn't have a pen or a paper, neither did he have, so I could not get. And she gave a nice description also how he looked. She said that he is not very tall. He has some freckles on his nose. Freckles means small brownish, light brownish spots. And there is a gap between his teeth. So all this she kept on talking about Danny Casey. And she spoke in such a convincing manner. Jeff को लगा कि शायद ये सच में मिली होगी Danny Casey से. Okay, but when they went after that to the dinner table, Jeff told that to their father. The father didn't believe. Father was, as I told you, already very irritated with this habit of Sophie. He said that this girl will someday put us in trouble, because every time she is fabricating such fanciful stories and anecdotes, and one day she will be in trouble. Okay, the father says this. And there also, Jeff and his father, they talk amongst, between themselves, that yes, like Danny Casey also, there was one more very famous footballer, Tom Finney. He was also a very great footballer, very good footballer. And then Jeff says that Danny Casey maybe will become more popular or is more talented than him. So ऐसे कुछ बातें हो रही थी. बीच में Sophie suddenly says that, he told me that he will buy a shop. Again, the father is very irritated. And why Sophie is doing this? Because a typical attitude, she also wants some attention. She wanted to be a part of that conversation. Because the father and the son were only talking. She could not contribute much. She's a young girl. She didn't know who is Tom Finney. So she could not say much. So suddenly again, she said something. Just say she could become a part of the conversation. So ऐसे चलता रहा. Now after that, what happened? After dinner, Sophie again came back to Jeff's room, and she added one more aspect to the story of Danny Casey. Up tak she had said that we had met only, nothing more than that. And I asked for autograph, but he did not give because we did not have pen or paper. Now she again came to Jeff's room and she said, Jeff, that Danny Casey has called me again to meet him so that we can talk, and then he could give me the autograph as well. Means, they have to meet for a date, you can say. Okay, so this is what she told. Now again, Jeff didn't believe it completely, but because she constantly repeated half-heartedly, adha adhura, Jeff believed also. Not completely, but to some extent. He said, I don't think he will come. Okay, he will never come. That is what he says. So it is on page 82, as if he would ever show up. This Jeff said, and he went off. Okay. Now we are on page 82. Here you can see a line. On every Saturday, they made their weekly pilgrimage to watch the United. United is the name of the club where all the players of different countries they play, and in that Danny Casey also played. Now, what do we mean by this weekly pilgrimage? Pilgrimage means किसी भी एक religious place में visit करना, isn't it? So why are they considering watching the football match every Saturday as a pilgrimage? This can come as a question. It shows their attachment towards football, their devotion towards football. It was a kind of a religious place for them. They are so much associated, devoted. They were the ardent followers and supporters. It was kind of a worship from them, for them. Okay, so this can be a short question. Now they went over there, they watched Danny Casey play, and as usual he played very well and he made lots of goals and all, and everybody praised him, and Sophie started to feel a sense of pride. Now this is a little alarming over here. Why would Sophie especially feel that pride? Because that story that Sophie has told her brother that we had met and he had asked me to meet again. Now from this point of time, we have to understand, children, that she has started believing in that story. देखो, अब तक it was okay. You are just telling such stories just to get some attention of your brother or your father. ये यहाँ तक ठीक है to some extent, because adolescent fantasizing is a very common phenomenon. But now she is losing the grip of reality. Now she is losing the sense of how much is reality and how much is fantasy. She started to believe it, and this is a very, very dangerous part. Now we see that this last part that starts page 83, Sophie has gone to a place which is actually meant for lovers to meet. You know, a place which is a little away from the hustle bustle of the city. There was a small narrow canal, a water body that was flowing, and it had a small solitary elm, means one elm tree. Elm is a tree. So there was a single elm tree, there was a bench under it, and it was not very crowded. It was the light of the wharf. Wharf is the place of the dock, you know, harbor, where the ships are moored. Moored means anchored. So the light of that place was coming. So it was not very lit up also. So it was a perfect place for lovers to meet. And Sophie always wanted to meet somebody over there. So Sophie comes to that place and she waits for Danny Casey. Why? Though she never met Danny Casey, though he never promised her that he would come and meet, but she has fabricated that dream. She started believing that dream or that false story so strongly that she has forgotten that it was a story. She has started believing in that story. And this is very, very dangerous. So she comes over there and she waits for Danny Casey. And obviously, Danny Casey doesn't come because he has never made any promise. He doesn't even know Sophie. And she is filled with sorrow. She is filled with, frustration and hopelessness and sense of humiliation. Why humiliation? Because she says that when I go home, my brother will ask Jeff that did Danny come? I will say no. And then what will Jeff say? Jeff will say, see, I told you earlier only that he will never turn up. So she feels very bad, but at the same time, she tells over here that whatever they feel, whatever my brother feels, whatever my father feels, we know how it was. We matlab kaun? Main or Danny Casey. She, Sophie and Danny Casey. We know how it was. Means we had met. We had promised each other to meet. So though he didn't turn up today, let my brother think whatever he wants to, but we know that we had met, but actually it is not the truth. So he says, she says over here that it is very difficult. I have become sad, she thought, and it is a hard burden to carry. What is the hard burden? Why is it difficult to carry? The hard burden is that Danny Casey did not keep up to his promise. So she is very, very upset. And finally, after waiting for quite long, she goes back home. And while she goes back home, children, again she hallucinates, again she visualizes and imagines that meeting with Danny Casey. And over here, be very careful if a question comes in the story, I mean in the exam, that did Sophie meet Danny Casey even once? No. In reality, she never met. You will find in many refreshers, many answers that yes, she met, but please don't go by that. They never met. Her only time when she saw Danny Casey was in the football match from far, like all the thousands others in the in the crowd or as spectators. She watched Danny Casey. Other than that, she never met Danny Casey one-to-one. Okay, so when she comes back home, again she starts thinking about Danny Casey. Again, the same thing that she had told her brother Jeff, wahi cheese, she keeps on imagining that she talks to Danny Casey. He's not very tall, he has that gap between his teeth. She asks for the autograph. The entire thing she visualizes, okay, and it is again a figment of her imagination, right? And after that, she comes back home, and next Saturday they again go back to see the match, and normally Danny Casey scores goal and everybody applauds him thunderously. So with this, we come to the end of the chapter. Now, very, very important questions that can come, children. Now, number one, that do you think such fantasizing should be appreciated, or such dreamings is good? Now, we have to say what? See, dreaming is definitely good, but there are certain conditions. What you dream, you have to work for it, which Sophie did not do. Number two, your dream has to be realistic to a certain extent. Dream big, but then also they have to be realistic. And if they're unrealistic, then you have to have a proper planning to achieve it. Okay, and then you should have one dream, not that you cannot have multiple dreams and just keep on skipping from one to the other like Sophie had. She said, I'll open a boutique, I'll become a manager, I'll become an actress. Not like that. You should have a solid concrete plan if you have a dream to achieve it. Okay, I always say a dream without a plan is a mere wish. Okay, so we have no need to have a wish. If you have a dream, you have to have plans to achieve it, which Sophie did not have. And secondly, for hero worship, idol worship is good. You can worship somebody and you can have an idol in front of you whom you admire, you like the qualities. It can be anybody in your family, it can be a celebrity. But then you cannot lose the control over yourself, over your life, over the reality for that person, like that happened with Sophie. Okay, so this is very important. Going place, as I told you, can come as a title. That what is the meaning of it? We know it's going places when Sophie going places in her world of dream. Okay, now the third question, very, very important question, is there in the book only. Sophie's dreams and disappointments are all in her mind. Very true. Okay, her dream is also in her mind, and for the same reason, who's responsible for her disappointment? Nobody else. You cannot say Danny Casey is responsible, or her brother is responsible, or her father. She herself, because she fabricated, she concocted such dreams which were not meant to be true. And she forgot that she was in a world of dream. She thought they were reality. And then she invited despair in her own life. Okay, so this is the chapter, again a very probable chapter this year. So please do this, and this is very important for long question children, because this is a beautiful psychological analysis of Sophie, and it can be related to the young children or the adolescents like you people. So be very prepared for this chapter for a long question. I'm not saying short question cannot come, but long question also we can very obviously get from this chapter. I hope you like the video. If so, please share it with your friends. I hope everybody will be benefited from the teaching of an experienced teacher. And if you like it, please give a thumbs up and give your comments below. Till then, thank you and happy studying.